And I think when we got the results of our survey back a couple months ago, we were hearing that people wanted to not just see like painting and drawing, but also other crafts and projects they could work on at home, and different methods of things. So I thought Jamie would be a great person to ask to join us and show us some things that we can make at home, everything from prints to wearable items and decoration things for around the house, and all, you name it, Jamie can probably make it or has done it somehow. So yeah, she's going to lead us in making a zine, which is like a little booklet type thing that you can fill with any kind of things you want, I think. And then you're encouraged to jump in and ask questions and comment on things, because like I said, I want everyone to kind of pick up on some new ideas for projects they can work on that they might not otherwise have found out about. So I think that's it for me.
All right. Hello. As Matt said, I'm Jamie. I live in Toronto right now, and I'm sort of, I guess, a multidisciplinary artist. I actually graduated from university in fine arts, so I have a background in painting and drawing and sculpture. And then after graduating university, sort of had to bring art a little bit more to the hobby side. So I started doing a bit more homemade DIY approach to art. So I have some stuff to show just to illustrate that. So I'm very much so a hands-on person. It's how I learn, it's how I like to work. And really, I find, at least probably for myself and a lot of you here, art is really like a therapy to me as well. So being able to like sit down and do something that can totally take my mind off of everything else is sort of where I see myself when I'm making art. So I actually started off with embroidery. So these are just some of the, I don't know how exactly to show them, but these are some of the embroidery works that I've done over the years. I started off with just making like really simple, like patch designs, a lot of like hand lettering and calligraphy, and really like wearable, super inexpensive to make, really sort of like accessible art, which was embroidery to me, and sort of taking what I do in my illustration style and in taking that illustration style and just like completely translating it into embroidery, and sort of like learning a lot about texture and about like form, and really working on my sort of understanding of what my illustration style is. And a lot of sort of like organic shapes and everything. Oh, thank you for making the spotlight. It makes it easier to see. Thank you. So yeah, I started off with embroidery, and sort of my obsession for crafts and sort of like learning to do things led me to learning how to make rugs as well. And so I did this doing rug hooking, which is actually similar to embroidery, like very inexpensive and very accessible. If we had like a full 8-hour day, I could show you how to rug hook, but unfortunately we only have a short amount of time, so we're going to do something a little easier today. But yeah, I really loved making things that I can see my hand in the final product. And so a lot of that is going to be these like sewing and embroidery, and then eventually into printmaking as well. So these are hand carved block prints of just different seasonal vegetables. So this is one that I made last month for all the vegetables that are in season in March and April in Ontario. It's a tea towel, so I was sort of trying to find ways to display art in informational ways as well, which is sort of what we're going to do today as well. I don't know if anybody has any questions about those few things I shared there, but those are sort of where I came from when I started making art after university. And now I'm sort of would consider myself more to be an illustrator, working in different mediums, like fiber art, and also like traditional illustration styles, making small little painted pins and items, and I make little ceramics, again, usually just so that I can illustrate on top of them. But I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of that. If not, I can sort of go into what I was hoping to do with you guys today.
I guess go ahead, unless anyone has anything to.
Yeah. Also, I'm an incredibly fast talker. So if at any point I'm talking too fast, just like wave me down or like write it in the chat because I can get a little carried away sometimes. All right. So for today, I thought it would be kind of fun because we have a limited amount of time, so I don't want to do anything too crazy, but I thought it would be fun to make a zine. So I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with a zine. It's essentially a magazine, but a handmade, hand-drawn or collaged magazine that you then photocopy a bunch of times and can distribute if you choose, or like me, I tend to put them on display in my house. And so I have made a couple in the past. So a lot of my art that I make now, since the pandemic started and we're all sort of forced to be at home, art supplies are a little harder to get. So zines are something to make that's super accessible. I use it sometimes as like a warm-up activity before I go into doing another craft like sewing or rug making or something, just as a way to sort of like loosen up and have some fun. So these are some little ones. This is essentially what we're gonna make today, is a little book. So this is one that I made that's just like a single recipe where on each individual page is the ingredient for that recipe. So just really simple little illustrations with some more of the recipes. Other ones that are like, sorry, this light is not the best. For another one, just, again, these are just like super quick line drawings for a recipe for pasta sauce, and then a final image. So during the pandemic, going grocery shopping was really like the only exciting thing that you could do. And so I sort of started turning my weekly grocery shopping into sort of like a little art activity for myself. So I would make little meal plan zines. And this was like, I was at the point where I had been at home with all of my art supplies for so long, I was simultaneously bored and overwhelmed by all the options that I had. And so making myself sit down every Sunday morning for an hour and just like go to work drawing a really quick little meal plan illustration just sort of got my brain warmed up and kept me sort of like active in art making without having to sit down with, you know, getting all my paints out and my canvas and sort of feeling like I was taking on a big endeavor at the end of a long week, but also simultaneously wanted to be able to get my grocery shopping list done. So today I thought we could make a zine, just sort of looking at what seasonal vegetables there are for May in Ontario. I know in Toronto, at least, they're talking about opening up farmers markets again soon. And so I always love to just sort of give myself a little refresher on what is in season right now. And the best thing about a little zine is you can pop it in your bag and take it with you. You know, look at it before you go into the grocery store and see if you're gonna try and buy something that's in season, take it to the farmer's market with you as a fun little, I don't know, companion to take with you. Or they stand upright, so you can also just display it in your kitchen or on your counter somewhere if you wanna be sort of reminded of what's in season right now and sort of be inspired towards cooking what's in season as well. So does everybody have a piece of paper? Can be any size, any kind of paper, if you're following along. If not, no worries. It can be printer paper. This is just cardstock paper. Super, super simple to do. I'm just going to put the camera down so you can see my paper. So essentially what we're doing is taking this one book, and when you open it up, it's one single piece of paper folded, hot dog style and then hamburger style, and then cut into like what looks like a pair of pants almost. And then you just fold it back up and it makes the zine. So the first step is to get your paper folded. So I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with hamburger and hot dog style folding. Maybe this is just something I learned in my elementary school, but you're gonna hot dog fold the paper, which is folding it lengthwise in half. And you wanna make sure that your papers line up pretty well. Otherwise, when you fold your book up, all your edges are gonna be all wonky and all over the place. So once you have a folded hot dog style, you can fold it hamburger style once, which is just folding it in half the other way. And then you're just going to make 2 more additional folds inwards so that you have 4 individual pieces. And I'm just using, not very safely, the handle of my scissor to flatten my paper down because it's very thick. I only had watercolor paper that was unused at the moment, so bear with me while I grunt to get this folded. All right, and so if you're following along, you should have a piece of paper that has 8 squares on it. And then I just realized I forgot to mention this, but you do need a pair of scissors, or if you made your creases well enough that you can, like it's perforated enough that you can tear it, then that works as well. Sorry, I should have mentioned the scissors earlier, so I'll give people a minute if they're grabbing scissors.
Jamie, would you please refold it?
I can for sure.
Thank you.
No problem. So you got your piece of paper. Mine's 8.5 by 11. So I'm just folding it in half lengthwise so that you have one long rectangle. And then once you get there, you're just folding it in half lengthwise. Once, now you have just the 2 squares visible. And then you're just going to fold it in half one more time so that you only have 1 square. That should be longer in height and shorter in the width. I can fold it again as well if anybody needs. The first time I made one of these, it was, good Lord.
I have my squares, I think.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody else need another second or want me to show it again? Okay, if not, so you're gonna just take your scissors and you basically just wanna cut the first 3 squares in half. So you're just gonna follow your center line all the way up to just below the notch for the top 2 squares. So you want just the top 2 squares to be left intact. So this is where you have what's left, what looks like almost a pair of pants. But be gentle, because if you tear it, it will not be a book any longer, which I have made that mistake a few times. All right, and then this is, the best way to explain it is you're just gonna be like zigzagging it closed. So you're gonna take your first one and fold it back on itself. And then take those 2 squares and fold them back on the 3rd one. And you're just going to continue going in like a snaking pattern so that you're always folding like the 2 backs against each other to face each other. So I shouldn't be wrapping it around anywhere, or else the book won't open afterwards. So I'll show it again. So I have all my squares, so I'm just folding this way, and then under, and then over, under, over, under, and then over again. So then at the end, you should have a little book. And then I'll let everybody get to that step, and then I can show you what we'll do next.
I think I have it.
Perfect. And if you're using thicker paper like I am, it might not line up perfectly, but that'll just be a unique little quirk for the final product. If you're using thinner printer paper, it should all line up pretty well. Okay, so once you get to the point that it's all folded together, you're just gonna take a pencil or write really lightly in whatever writing utensil you have. Just write F on the front page and make sure that you write it in the bottom corner so that it's facing the same way as you want your final illustration to be facing. Because once you open the paper again, everything's gonna be facing different ways. So you just wanna keep stuff nice and organized. So you're just gonna do that on every page. So labeling either 1, 2, 3, 4 or A, B, C, D, just in the bottom corner, again, facing the same way that you want the final illustration to be facing. And then I usually just put a B on the back so that I, again, know what my back page, which way it should be facing. So in the end, you should have a little book that has numbers or letters in the bottom corner, just to give you a guide. And then the back. And so then when you open your book back up, you should see the front page, or the one side, sorry, will have all of your numbers, but the pages aren't going to be facing the same way. So you want to make sure that you're drawing on the page. If you want, you know, you could go avant-garde and not follow the lettering direction or anything. But if you wanted to make text or something on your pages, you want to make sure that they're going to be facing the same direction as the numbers. And then you'll notice that your front and back page are actually on the opposite side, on the two little tail ends. And again, they're not going to be facing the same direction. So you just want to make sure when you're doing your drawings or your letterings that you're looking at that letter there, or else you'll do like what I did, where I made one like this, and then I got to this page, and all of a sudden it was the wrong way around because I didn't follow the, the steps or follow the numbering. Sometimes I get overconfident that I know which way stuff is supposed to go. All right. And so at this point, really it's total like creative freedom. I like to draw the insides not as one page each, but rather as one sort of pattern. So this is an example where I draw it all as one continuous pattern over the whole page, and then just add the names of each individual one on the different pages. This is a very rough copy, so you can sort of get an idea. And I really like doing the patterning, especially if I'm just doing this as a quick warm-up drawing, because it really gives you a chance to sort of just, you're not following any rules, you're just sort of making something that to you looks aesthetically pleasing, and you can sort of choose to draw in whatever style you like to draw in. My illustration style tends to just be like block color with outlines and details. So if you want to follow along, that's kind of the way that I'm going to be approaching mine, but like feel free to draw yours in whichever way you prefer. Does anybody have any questions so far? I know I went through that kind of quickly.
Remember, guys, if you have a question, just unmute yourself. Don't forget that you're muted. Just a reminder.
Perfect. Okay, so as I said, I was going to, or I thought it would be fun to make one that showcases the vegetables that are going to be in season in May. I know some people are probably out gardening today because it's beautiful out. I know I got my vegetable garden planted, and it's kind of fun as the weather changes to sort of start focusing on how you can eat seasonally, especially when the markets and stuff start opening up again. So in Ontario, this season we have carrots, spinach, beets, jalapenos, mushrooms, asparagus, and sweet potatoes. So these are just some illustrations that I did earlier, trying to do this all in by mirror, of the different vegetables that are going to be in season right now. And so generally what I like to do is pick one sort of like outline color that I'm going to use to do the lettering and the general sort of like accent details, and then pick two other sort of accent colors that I'll use to fill in the shapes. As you can see here, I don't actually usually follow the exact color scheme of certain vegetables. I guess there are red carrots, so I take that one back. But I think it's kind of fun if you choose colors that maybe aren't necessarily associated with those items that you're drawing, and then it can sort of push you creatively to try and find fun ways to illustrate those items to make them still representational but not be hyper realistic. And so I think I'm going to stick with the same color scheme that I chose here. So I'm going to be using a couple of different kinds of markers and pencil crayons. But again, feel free, you can use pastel. I would just be careful of the pages touching afterwards. You might want to put like something in between so that they don't rub off of each other. Watercolor, acrylic paints, really anything that you want to use, anything works. So I'll move these guys up. And so what I'll generally start doing when I'm building a pattern based on my items here is I like to start with whatever the biggest one is, which is my beet, which I had to include the greens because I think it also is just another chance to bring more color into your illustration. So I'm going to start with sort of laying some of those down in rough areas where I think I eventually want them to go. So if you want to follow along, you can start with your beet or choose whichever vegetable there you want to choose. And try and leave them laid out here so you can see what they are. Or you can ask me also if you don't remember, because I went through those quickly. So I'm just going to start, and I'm using my whole page as if it's one canvas. That way, when you fold it up afterwards, your pattern is going to be interspersed among the different pages, and you'll have some pages where you might have super representational images and other pages where things might look a little bit more abstract. And I think it just makes it a little bit more fun for your final product. So I'm just going to really roughly go around with my pencil first, just because I'm using marker afterwards, and that can be a little bit tricky if you make any sort of mistakes. And I'm also going to change up the sizes a bunch. So I might do some that take up more pages, and then I might do some that are a little bit smaller. So I'm trying to make it easier to see. The sun is sort of at a point right now where it's making it very bright in my room. So again, just like filling in. And the thing that I really like about just doing patterns like this is it's super, I don't want to say mindless. I guess it can be a mindful activity, but you're really just, you're filling in blank space with a bunch of shapes, and then you're coloring them in, and it can be a really nice activity to sort of like wind down at the end of the day, or also to sort of like boost your creativity if you're about to go do something else and you just want to sort of like freshen up. So I also am going to make a couple of them that go off the page entirely. So maybe you're just seeing like a chunk of it on the corner. I might do just like at the bottom, like the tip of the leaf poking out. And so then once you have your bigger vegetable, so again, I chose the beet one first. Sorry, this is so hard to see. I just have it sort of 6 of them sort of like splayed out across the page. And then you're just going to continue to go with all the other vegetables until you have it, a pattern sorted out that you are happy with. So I think next I'll go with the sweet potato. So basically it's just like looks kind of like a slug, but just like a big lumpy cylinder shape. And again, just sort of like super loose. Also, I know we're not doing any embroidery or rug hooking, but if anybody has any embroidery related questions also, like I'm totally open to answering those. I just knew in the limited time we had, teaching embroidery would probably be a little bit difficult over Zoom. So I've just laid in some like random sweet potato shapes there. Again, this isn't really planned out. The point of this is to sort of just allow yourself to fit in stuff wherever it fits and to sort of just go with the flow. So now I'm going to draw in some carrots, just like a really long, lumpy tube shape with some of the greens at the top. And then some smaller ones to fill in some of the gaps. And you can also make things overlap and intersect sort of wherever you want, if you're looking to fill up a space more, or you want to have more items visible. So now I might draw some spinach leaves, just again, wherever they sort of fit in. and jalapenos. And then asparagus and mushrooms. I also find zines can be really fun little gifts to give as cards. My sister recently got a bunch of different houseplants, and so for her birthday, I made her a little zine about how to care for the different houseplants that she has. So you can make little like informational zines as well, or they make really nice little birthday cards if you want to make something a little bit more elaborate.
That's funny that you said that. I'm doing flowers instead of vegetables for the
Nice.
for the flowers that are in my garden.
Yes, that works as well. I made one for my herb garden so that I could remember sort of where I had stuff planted in the garden, and also then like how much sunlight they need, all that stuff. It can be a really fun like research tool. All right. So I'm not sure where everybody else is at, but I pretty much have my page almost entirely covered. And now I'm basically going to try and find organic ways to fit the name of the different vegetables on each page in a way that sort of flows with this pattern that I've created. So for example here, so say for my first page, I want this to be my beet page. This shape of the beet here, this nice curve, I might make the word sort of curve in there so that it fits in with my pattern and sort of a nice, has a nice flow to it. And then same with here, I might put a word down in this empty space where it curves along with the sweet potato. I might do one under here on this page, go over again. And then down here, oops, go there, go above that, down. So then you just sort of had it blocked out where you want to put your words. Afterwards, because I find sometimes even after I have the pencil in drawing, once I start coloring stuff in, if the colors look imbalanced to me, then I might add in some more additional items. Any questions so far?
I like the idea of doing like the drawings, because when I was looking at it at first, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to draw like really small to like fit everything in each page, but having it kind of be a little like free to be sort of spill over makes it fun to not have to worry as much about fitting it in the little space.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's like a really good warm-up exercise, because like I might have 5 beets on here and maybe only like 3 mushrooms, and it's as I color it, you'll start to notice, okay, I'm noticing while I'm coloring, I have a lot of pink over here because I have all my mushrooms on one side of my pattern. And so then you'll start to notice the imbalances based on like how things are colored. You'll notice, oh, I have too many of this like stick-like shape in this one side of my pattern. So maybe I need to balance that out with some more on this side.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things too, where the more you do it, the more sort of comfortable you get with fitting shapes together. And it can be kind of like a puzzle as well, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm at this point now. I have pretty much the design that I want, and now I'm just going to start picking the colors that I want to add in there. So again, like I said, I was choosing a complementary color pattern. So I chose pink and red and a green and a lighter green. So again, red and green, complementary colors. And then I'm picking a shade lighter of pink, or shade lighter of red, sorry, with the pink, and then a shade darker of green with this sort of like olive green color. And then just using those same colors to create all the accents on the different vegetables. So you can see here, red carrot with the pink stripes. You got your pink mushroom with the green. So again, you're just trying to use constrict yourself down to those like few colors and then see how well you can sort of play with them throughout the design to make something that's balanced, but also colorful and bright. And I don't know if anybody is a big fan of marker illustrations, but I would highly, highly recommend, if you are, to try these markers. They're called Posca. So they're an acrylic paint marker. And that's what I use to make the majority of my illustrations that give this like really pigmented, almost like acrylic paint technique, but it's in this marker form. They're super easy to use. They're a little bit pricier, but if you are someone who likes to do marker illustrations, they're definitely like worth buying. So if you see me using those, that's what they are, and they're very, very good markers. I don't know if anybody has any questions about like drawing supplies or anything. I'm a big marker hoarder. And again, you can also do these like monotone if you want to do just one color for all your illustrations and then do one other color for the accents. It doesn't have to necessarily be a full-on color. Is anybody else doing something different from the vegetables? Like Karen, doing their own zine approach?
I'm doing each page is a song, sort of,
Oh, cool.
for like an album, and then every like I just conveniently had like 8 songs, so I was like, oh, I'll just like each one is a different like sketch of something from the song or something.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone's super familiar with like the history of zines, but they were really big in like music subcultures. It was a way for people to share lyrics and share sort of themes about music and art and poetry, because you could make them as a single person and then just photocopy them and distribute them at your concerts, or sort of give them out to your friends. You could put them with your CDs that you were giving out when we were giving out CDs. And they're very rarely in museums do you see zines, but I think there's a couple that are starting to get zine collections. There is a zine library in Toronto, but I can't remember where it is exactly. But you can go in there, and the amount of little books that they've collected there and sort of the topics that they go over it's wild. It's very expansive. So I'm just going in with my greens first so that I can make sure all the greens are balanced on the drawing, and then I'll do the next color and make sure that they're balanced throughout the illustration. Has anyone heard in Oshawa whether your farmers markets are going to be returning anytime soon?
I'm not sure. I mean, our grocery stores are open and
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, like, well, I know down here there's like at Brickworks, there's the big outdoor farmers market. And in the beaches, there's a big outdoor farmers market as well. And I know they had trouble opening at the beginning of the season last year, just with sort of like COVID restrictions and the sort of like lack of hand washing at outdoor events like that. How is everyone making out?
I've got it's pretty filled in. You can't really see it too well. I have pencil crayons and stuff.
Oh, is your paper green also?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Even construction paper.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Any paper works.
Show it again, Matt. I didn't see you.
I'll just show half for now. So I'm just filling it in with
Yeah.
some little drawing.
Oh, right on.
How's yours coming along, Karen?
Oh, I'm pretty bad. I'm
Oh,
terrible
no.
at drawing, but I'm
No
giving it a
one's
shot.
terrible at drawing.
There's a couple
Oh,
starts
beautiful.
to some flowers there.
Those look nice.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I always make an effort.
You have to. I also, as soon as I started doing this where people could watch, I can no longer color inside the lines, apparently. I lost that skill immediately. Anybody have any other questions? I know right now we're just coloring, but. What's the arts background of most of the people in the association? Is anybody an illustrator or is it painters?
I think a lot of people are painters here.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm an illustrator, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently everyone's shy today, but we do have
Yeah.
we have a really good range. We have a lot of different styles and some extremely talented people.
Amazing. Do you do these once a month? Or did someone have a question? Oh, I thought I heard.
Eileen, was that you?
I thought I heard someone.
No, hello?
Hello?
Yeah, did you hear me or not?
Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry.
No, I said I'm a sewer myself.
Oh, amazing. What kind of sewing do you do? Like fashion sewing or?
Everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you working on anything right now?
Not really. Not really. I was doing a quilt last year,
Oh,
baby quilt. It's the first one I've done,
wow.
and sent that off to the baby. It was
Oh,
interesting. But yeah, I'm a sewing background, and used to do lots of arts and crafts through the years too.
oh, awesome. I've always wanted to make a quilt. I've never made one, but I've bought fabric many times thinking that I'm going to sit down and make one. It's a big endeavor to undertake.
Right in the middle of the pandemic last year, I started on this, and then I needed to have the quilt batting, and the stores was closed, right?
Oh, yeah.
I ended up getting it online, but it came all the way from BC.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
So, but I got it finished in the end. Yeah, it's
That's
quite
good.
fun. Yeah.
Oh, I know at the beginning of the pandemic, I was sewing masks.
Yeah, that too.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
then so all the fabric, luckily, that I had bought over the years that I was going to use for quilting got put to good use to make some masks.
Yeah, and I even got my daughter into making masks as well. Gave her
Oh, perfect.
one of my old sewing machines, and she started making masks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything to keep you busy during this time as well.
That's right. Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why I started making these little like hand-drawn books as well, was because a lot of the other art practices that I do, like embroidery or rug hooking, like I said, very accessible, but very time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking for things that I could do in my day that would just take me half an hour, where I could just sort of get a bunch of ideas out of my head, get them down on paper, and then move on to something else. Because once I start working on a rug or something, I'm sort of locked in for the next half a day or so.
Mm-hmm.
So any sort of sewing I love sewing, but I always get overwhelmed by all the project possibilities.
It can be more satisfying to finish something, even if it's simple, as long as it's finished.
Yes.
Versus like taking on a huge project and then being like, oh no, what have I done? Like.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's part of my all or nothing thinking about art, is if I'm going to sit down to make something, I have to make it from start to finish in that one sitting. And that's not really possible for many things.
I crochet, and I have had that exact same mentality for the longest time. All I ever made were slippers, toques, and dishcloths.
Yeah.
People would ask me for blankets, and I'm like, no, there's no way I'm going to spend the time making a blanket. And then I made like the most difficult, time-consuming blanket. I started making skull blankets.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I sell them and I make good money off them, but man, do they take forever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Everyone keeps, so I have a website, and I'm sort of in school again now for graphic design. And as someone who does stuff really handmade, it's very hard for me to learn digital art because I don't get to see my hand in the final piece as much as I do when I'm drawing something or sewing something. But man, like the ability to turn something out really fast is very tempting.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to pass up, but I don't know. I can't get used to staring at the screen for that long.
Stare at the screen too much.
Yeah. It's a bad habit that I have picked up over the last year or two. And the other reason I mentioned those Posca markers as well is because they're really good for doing any sort of like outlining on top of stuff that you've already drawn. So once I start to have some of my like general shapes, and you can see this is like very quickly done. I'm sort of just trying to lay out the designs. I can use this like thicker marker to go in, and then I'm taking those sort of like blobby shapes that I drew earlier, and now using my outline, I'm sort of giving them shape and making them a bit more recognizable as to what exactly they're supposed to be. So if I'm doing my beet leaf, I might do some like mark making on there to make the shape of the leaf a bit more pronounced. and just sort of adding those details in so that your illustration has a bit more clarity to it as well. Was this session something you guys started just during the pandemic, or was it something you have always done?
We've always done them, but in person.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so every month we have a members meeting, which is what this is, and we used to hold them at the Arts Resource Center in downtown Oshawa.
Okay.
And it was always like, we still would always have an artist do a demonstration. It was a little better then, obviously, because we got to interact a little more. People could chat before and after, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we learned to adapt and, you know, picked up Zoom shortly after the whole lockdown started, because we knew we had no other way to do this, and we still wanted to make sure that we kept everyone engaged. And, you know, we enjoy this. A lot of the people absolutely enjoy these demonstrations. Like me, I love watching new and different things. So we always had even when we were doing them in person, we never had a massive turnout. So we do have a little bit less regularly here. Still, like, compared to what we had before, it's not a big difference. So I think this is still successful, in my opinion, anyway.
That's awesome. Anything to sort of keep you going.
Exactly.
I know I work in the food service industry sort of as my day job. And so I'm still going out every day and getting to interact with people sort of face to face. And so I haven't spent as much time on Zoom as I feel like a lot of people have. But yeah, it's crazy how much we've been able to do in the last year to sort of keep connected. Did anybody try any brand new art practices during the last year while you were stuck at home?
Gotten into model building and airbrushing.
Oh, airbrushing.
Yeah, which
That's cool.
We luckily my dad happened to have the equipment, so I started messing around with the compressed air tank and all that stuff. And
what are you making with it?
Just spray painting different models and things like that.
Oh,
and,
gotcha.
But I think the gear was so old that it got all gummed up, and like it started to just kind of like get clogged and bubble up and stuff, and it wasn't it's all like lacquer paints and stuff, so it's really messy, and you don't want to make a mess.
Right. Yeah. I know, I'm finding the longer we're stuck at home, the more I'm willing to just make a giant mess if it means I have an activity to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes my house is just a disaster.
I took up making fabric portraits.
Wow, like collaged fabric or sewn?
Collage fabric, but I do quilt it afterwards.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you have any near you right now?
I have one that's partially finished. I'll get it.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That sounds very cool.
Oh yeah, I forgot to do the covers on my zine.
Oh yes, I forgot about my covers too. I got lost in the patterning.
Well, I used markers on drawing paper and it went through, so I'm not gonna have a cover.
Yours could just be a patterned sheet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh wow.
That's beautiful.
Hold on, let me, Jean, stay there. I'm gonna
spotlight.
For a second.
Wow, that's beautiful. Is that of a family member?
Yes, it's my grandson.
Oh, wow. I love the color scheme you did as well.
Yeah, it's done with cotton material.
And then are you just cutting it out to those shapes and then gluing it on? Or stitching it on, I mean?
Yes, I use a fabric fusion sheet.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
And then I quilt it afterwards.
That's I've never seen anything like that. And anytime I see someone do something new with fabric, I need to also try it out. That's how my rug hooking started. I just saw someone on Instagram rug hooking and I immediately needed to try doing it. That's how I fell down a rug.
If you like new ideas, hold on a minute. I'll show you something else.
Okay, I would love to see it. I can switch mediums at the drop of a hat.
I don't know if this will show up. It's called Tamari.
Oh.
Oh, where'd she go? Hold on, I'll spotlight her again. I just lost her screen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, is that wrapped?
It's wrapped, yes. It's a round, I make a round ball out of wool and scraps, and then you stitch the pattern on the surface.
Wow.
It's a Japanese handcraft. This is a traditional pattern.
What is it called again?
Tamari, Temari.
Okay, I wrote that down. I want to look it up.
And
cool.
Another one. This is the one I just finished.
And so the strapping on the outside, is that woven as well? Or
Yes.
is that, oh, wow. That's very cool. I've never seen
And
those
this is
before
another
either.
traditional pattern. And then I've got one that I did a while ago that's very untraditional.
Oh, that's cool. Did you design that pattern yourself?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
And this side is the fire dragon. The other side is the water dragon.
That's very cool. Are they heavy or are they light?
They're quite light. They're just made out of cloth and yarn. So
Oh, okay. They're beautiful.
Thanks.
Wow. Oh, see, now I have a new thing to go buy materials for.
They're actually quite reasonable to make because a couple of skeins of DMC cotton will make 2 or 3 balls of the smaller size.
Okay. Are you a spinner as well? Like, do you spin your own yarn?
No, I don't do my own spinning or dyeing.
Yeah.
I just buy it.
I feel like that's another rabbit hole I could climb down and
down.
never get out of.
Jean, do you use pins to put it in? Jean?
Yes. Yes.
And then you wind it around the pins, right?
Well,
Or
you use a needle and you actually take a little back stitch to hold each line of
really?
yarn string down.
Oh my, that's a lot of work then. No, I did something similar like that years ago, and you use a pin to hold the.
On a styrofoam ball?
Yeah, you wind it around that and then you do like that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these aren't done on styrofoam.
Oh, these are actually, that's beautiful, yeah.
Did you teach yourself how to make those?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
I got a book.
Oh, okay. Very cool. How long would it take you to make one of those?
Between 20 and 40 hours for the smaller ones. The bigger ones take months because you don't work at it all the time.
Right, yes. That sounds like some of my embroidery I've done.
Yes.
I've gotten emails from people before asking for, large scale embroideries, like something in a large scale embroidery hoop and wanting it in a couple of days and wanting a really detailed hand lettered piece. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's already 40 hours to do something really small.
Yes.
That's if I don't take breaks to like stretch my hand out, or else I'll get a little cramp as well. But it's very relaxing to do, so I'll always do it.
The whole, I put my zine together and the whole second half is upside down because I drew it. So the first half is fine, and then the second half, you gotta flip it around.
Everyone's first zine is a learning lesson in remembering which way the letters are facing. Because I've made probably 10 where I get it and I'm so happy with how it looks, and then I fold it up and I realize that half of it's the wrong way around.
I could have looked at the numbers, but I forgot.
Yeah,
Put the numbers there.
it happens.
I'm proud to say mine is all the right direction.
Oh, there we go.
But as I said, I wasn't thinking, and I used marker on drawing paper, so my front and back pages are kind of wasted.
It's okay. These are all learning experiences.
Yeah.
When I was gathering up materials for tonight and I was looking around, I found some of my very first ones that I ever made. And it was just, I would do everything and everything was facing the right way. And then I would choose the one wrong marker to do the lettering and it would bleed through and then the whole thing would be ruined. I've always really wanted to make a zine or a little book where it's embroidered inside. That's sort of, when I have time and I can actually sit down and sort of parse out how that would work, I would love to make an embroidered like fabric zine. I think that could be really fun.
Now, if you didn't want it to fold out all the way, like to stand up, you could, I guess, like glue the pages together, sort of like in the insides.
Yeah, yeah. So, or you can, once you have it folded up, you can put a couple of staples on the ends, like really close to the what's that called? The binding.
Right.
Yeah, I find glue usually works the best if you want it to just be stuck together afterwards. And you can also get way bigger paper and just keep folding it smaller and smaller if you want books that have more and more pages. So I'm sort of just doing all my outlining. And I also am cursed with a very heavy hand, so I always do my pencil drawings way too dark. Are there any other like fabric or fiber artists in the group? Sewers or?
I'm going to show you something I crocheted recently.
Yes, I would love to see.
So I think anyone that's my Facebook friend has already seen this, but it's a skull shawl.
Oh, that's what you meant by skulls.
Well, I
That's
make skull
very
blankets,
cool.
which are a little different. The skull blankets are like granny squares, but this is the shawl.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Crochet is another thing I've never tried.
So easy.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And like
It looks very fun as well.
it is, and it's one of those things that like depending on what you're crocheting, like what pattern you're doing, I can sit there and watch TV and like bang half of this off without even like paying attention to what I'm doing. You know?
I'm always envious of people on the streetcar who are just like knitting and just like looking out the window. Oh.
And then I made, because it was my grandmother that gave me a bunch of crochet hooks and stuff, and I got a couple of old crochet books from her recently. And when I say old, I mean like they're 70s, like styled stuff. And so I took one of the patterns and I made this vintage style, I'm not going to wear it, but it's a vintage style halter top.
That's so cute.
Yes. And I'm
That's
pretty sure
amazing.
I know a lot of hippies that'll wear these. So I think
Oh yeah. I feel like they're very much so like back in style now,
Yeah.
like crocheted little tops.
Yeah, definitely. This doesn't fit someone like me, but
Why not? It's 2021. There's no rules anymore.
That is true.
So do you sell your crocheted stuff?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah, the blankets I've done pretty well on in the last year. I used to just sell toques, but it keeps me busy and people buy stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's very cool. I've forever wanted to just make sort of embroidered patches forever. I thought that would just be great. And I was embroidering on clothing and painting on clothes. And I really just thought that I would be able to sort of make a run at it. And then when I started getting a little bit more experience and I started making bigger things and realizing that items like this took me like 60 hours, I think, or something like that. Like when you just get into doing all the letters and then doing the binding around the outside, it can get away from you. And so I'm always very envious of people who have like figured out how to make it work.
Your little patches are awesome. I like that one.
Oh, thank you. I have, so I went, I was working a job that I really hated. And so I started embroidering as something to do after work so that I wouldn't have to think about what happened while I was at work. And so I've made some other little florals. Again, was like really interested in like color theory, sort of figuring out ways to manipulate the threads and the colors. So lots of like florals, just like giant patches, some swear words, but it's backwards, so hopefully you can't read it.
No, we can.
Oh, whoops. I know, why not? Spice it up a little bit. But yeah, and starting to sort of realize that I could do my also hand lettering in the patch versions as well. And sort of, that's when I started getting really interested in that. And then obviously the rug hooking I picked up because you can get the similar effect, but it takes, half the amount of time. I don't know if anyone's ever rug hooked before, but it's a very, very relaxing and process, but just a little bit time consuming. But yeah, are you done your zines now? I know you guys were both participating, Karen and Matt.
I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah.
I know it bled, but will you let me see it?
Okay. Hold on. Let me, okay. So my friend Paige.
Oh, it's lovely.
And then
That's perfect.
pansy and a tulip.
Nice.
What do I got going? Oh, Sweet William, the little ones at the top, and a rose.
Oh, I never knew that's what those flowers were called.
Yeah, there's different ones. There's some that look similar, that are something else, but that's pretty close to. As I said, I can't draw, so these aren't actually accurate. A lily and a peony.
Beautiful.
And Iris and Daisy.
Amazing.
Pretty much my garden.
There you go. How did yours turn out, Matt, besides some pages being upside down?
It's okay. I figured out like I use this blue pencil crayon on the green paper that kind of works in some of the spots. Like I have these little drawings. There's like a skull and a car here.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But then the yellow came out kind of gross, so against the green. But I'm drawing in the dark, kind of, so it's hard to see.
Yeah, that also doesn't help.
So I'll figure out a better color against the green. But I'm happy with it, though. It's they're all songs that are on an album that I'm working on and recording myself.
Oh, amazing.
So it's a little like DIY. It's kind of like, I guess, like a time capsule now. Like, oh, this is, and I wrote on the back like when I worked on the album. So now I'm like, I can.
And then when you've released the album, you can just photocopy a bunch and give them out with the album.
Yeah, but then it'll also tell people what the songs are about. And maybe I don't want them to know.
True. And also some of the pages are upside down, so it'll be a cryptic message.
Yeah. But it's fun. I'll definitely do more of these now that I know how to put them together. And also just for like comics and stuff like that, that would be really nice.
Yeah, I like to do them as well if I'm doing research for something. So if I'm So through my job, I'm a coffee master. So I give presentations on like coffee knowledge and stuff like that. And so I've made zines before to sort of like hand out to people participating in like a coffee information session. And as a way for me to sort of like research and then organize my thoughts. I know people use them sometimes as journals. They'll like fold one up at the beginning of the week, and then every day they write on one page as like a little journal, and then you can just put it away after, and you have sort of like a week capsule, sort of like going off what Matt was saying. But of course I got distracted and I haven't even finished mine. But this is sort of where I was at with my patterning. So you can see it was really, I only stuck to a couple of colors. I haven't outlined some of the stuff, so you can't really see what it is. But I'll quickly write in my words and then I can fold it up. I don't know if anybody else ended up making one while we were going.
If anyone else has one to show, make sure you unmute yourself and let us know, and then I can spotlight your picture. No, I guess today was more of a relaxing day.
It was very nice. I'm sure everybody got their energy out earlier outside. So when I get to this point is usually when I'll look and see whether or not I think the things on the page are balanced or not. Not that it really matters when I fold it up, whether or not it's balanced, because you're not going to be able to tell. But for my peace of mind, I like to know that when you open it up to one page, that things are relatively going to be equal on each side. I can see here, I made 2 potatoes facing the same way. So that's the first place my eye goes to when I look at this. So I might try and balance it out by putting something else sort of like in the background here, or filling up this white space so that it's not so obvious that I basically have the same image on either side. And again, normally I would advise checking that before you start coloring it in, because then you can adjust, but sometimes just a little too gung-ho.
I think I folded mine wrong. When I'm trying to unfold it now like a book, and it's not working.
Let's see, can you hold it up?
Here's the whole,
Oh yeah,
here's the whole thing.
yeah, that looks right. So just start on one side and fold in on itself and like snake it.
Sorry, who was talking? I will spotlight you as well.
Beverly.
There you are.
I know sometimes I fold it and then I look at it and it doesn't look right. And sometimes you just have to refold it. So if you have it like this, you're gonna take the one side and fold the illustration in on itself, and then behind and then in on itself. And then when you get to this point, you're going behind. And then illustration to illustration, white to white.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, sometimes I fold them and then I look at it and it's like, what have I done?
Okay.
Is that working now?
Yeah, I think so. Sort of. Yeah, it is.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, sometimes it's just going over it a few times to make all the grooves proper.
Matt, I gotta step away for just a second, so I'm gonna make you a host, and that way you can spotlight and unspotlight people while I'm away for a sec.
Okay.
First, now I have to erase all my heavy pencil lines.
Beverly, did you want to show yours? Because it looked pretty nice from what I saw.
Well,
Yeah.
the last half is a lot nicer than the first half. So here, oh,
Beautiful. Oh, I love your mushroom. Oh, it looks great.
Yeah.
this is the beginning of a carrot.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Those are great. That looks great. It's very textured. I like it. I like the carrot greens actually look like carrot greens with all your little leaves on there. Did anybody else end up making one and want to share?
I'm gonna try to fold up another one before I forget how to do it, and then
Yeah.
that's the
I can
hardest
give one more demonstration as well if you need it.
part.
Okay, so at this point now I've added in all my words as well now, but it still is a little bit too much white space for my liking. So sometimes I'll go back in at the end now and I might just add some like marks in the back, some little dashes or lines just to help sort of like add some more elements. Oh, this light is not making these colors look very nice.
Oh, that looks way better, having more stuff on your page.
Yeah,
I should fill mine in a lot more.
fill it in. I'm a more is more philosophy. And so even at this point, even though the page is pretty full, sometimes I'll just go in and use just like some pointillism dots just to like fill in some of that white space a bit and connect
Yeah,
the things a little bit more. So I'll just go in with like little details, like these little like groupings of dots there, just to like add some extra stuff in the background so that's not just like a white page. It also
Right.
helps to cover up some of my pencil markings that I couldn't erase because I drew too hard. All right, so then at this point now I have added in a little bit of background detail just so that it's not so white. And now I'm gonna fold it up. I haven't drawn my front or back cover yet, but we're just gonna put some words on there. So you can see because of the thickness of my paper, you can see sort of the inside of the design coming out. But this way, when you open it up, if you open it up, and I made the same mistake that Matt made, and I did mine upside down. Okay. Oh no, I didn't, never mind. So it's, when you open it up now, you have one word on each page, but only a fraction of your entire illustration. But then when you open it up full, so you could have it as a poster if you want, or have it folded up as your book. Did anybody else who was making one finish one or want to show what they have so far?
Guess not.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, that was really fun. Yeah, I'm working on a second one now. I'm gonna do some blue paper and some red on it, and I think that'll pop nicely. And
Yeah. I originally was going to do black and white because I thought that that popped really nicely, which I think it does. So I might end up finishing this one as well. Yeah, I think even the monochromatic ones can be nice.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like the black and white. That looks really nice together.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be the sketch, but I have it sort of sitting on the side here, and the more I look at it, it's the more like interested I am in the black and white one.
Yeah, that looks cool. And yeah, I'm definitely going to try this again too. I'll be smarter next time and not use markers on thin paper.
Learning experience. It's all a learning experience.
Exactly. But no, I love this idea. And I especially loved your recipe, the ones that you have with the recipes in them. I think that's great. Like, I think that's a cute little gift, you know, like if, you know, you have a recipe that's, not that I have very many recipes, but, you know, if someone I know likes my cookies.
Yeah, and that's actually why I started making these. So I was making them to give to people in gifts. Like I would buy a really nice, like a really nice plate or something for my sister. And then along with the really nice plate, I would give her like a little recipe zine. Which is fun. Also, like if you're researching new recipes, it's a nice way to like lay them out for yourself.
I have a question.
Of course.
The last two that you showed, the monochromatic and the recipe one, had different cuts.
Oh yes. So this was a mistake that I made. The way that this one is cut.
Yeah.
I was experimenting, and the only thing about this one is when you open it up like this.
Yes.
It doesn't,
right.
It flops down.
Okay.
So
and the black and white, was that different again?
This was this was the same as this one.
Yes.
But I thought because it was thicker paper, maybe it would stand.
Right.
But it does, but then it topples over.
Okay. So don't do it that way.
Yeah. So these are all my, my ones where I was learning the different ways of cutting it.
Right.
If you're gonna staple it or glue it, then these ones are fine. But for leaving them open, they tend to flop over.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
So I have a question as well.
Yeah.
On pages, let me see, 4 and 5, are they joined at the top?
4 and 5. They should be joined in the middle.
Well, yeah, okay. So when you open it, like you have it like this, right? With the like.
Oh, can you lift it up a little bit?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So then, okay, so you have the regular pages, and then you get to these ones, and it's joined up at the top, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're good. I know. Sometimes I get a little overzealous too, and I end up ripping it open. Or there's been times where I thought I could get rid of this joining piece here to make it more of an open book, and then realized that was the only thing holding it together.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little fan once you open it, and then
Yeah.
a little lever.
Good. Mhm. Mhm.
And finally, I made a super quick, just little cover. Usually just with words and one little illustration because the inside is busy enough. Keep the outside a little bit simple.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Is there anything on the back?
I haven't put anything on my back yet. Sometimes I'll just continue the pattern from inside and maybe do a little bit more on the outside. Or just do, maybe I'll write the month so that I remember what month this is for.
Yes.
I've made other ones before where the front, so Bon Appetit is just like an Instagram handle that I use for some of my like food-based illustrations. So for this one, I just had the front and back were just the same sort of illustration continued over from front to back, while the inside was a different sort of border illustration on each page with a different like lettering style. It just started getting dark here, so I might not be able to see it as well.
It's really getting dark because Eileen has pretty much disappeared. I
Yeah.
can just see, like slide.
Slowly going into the dark.
I was just scrolling along, just seeing who was still here and if anyone was trying to talk or anything. And there's Eileen, just the tiniest little bit of light.
Oh.
And looks like Anne's fallen into the darkness almost too.
At least it's only starting to get dark at almost 9 o'clock now.
Oh yeah, I'm not complaining.
No, not at all. The dog was starting to whine a little bit. And so for the back of mine, I just did the design, same as the inside, but I didn't do any outlines on the back, just to give a little break from the heavy outlines on the inside, just sort of more like the organic shapes on the back. So then you have the front. Oh, so I did do 2 pages upside down. So see, even after all this time, I still mess up. And then we have these pages. Potatoes and jalapenos, and the back. So that's your little zine.
Nice.
That was
I mean,
awesome. Thank you. It was like Matt said, it was really nice to have something a little different than what, you know, the stuff we normally watch. So this was really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like it makes great gifts. It's a great warm-up exercise. It's a great just thing to do with kids as well. It's like super easy for them as well to do these. And they're super easy and compact to just store away afterwards and then come back and look at them and sort of see what was going on when you were drawing these ones.
And you taught me fold like a hot dog and fold like a hamburger.
There
I've
you
never
go.
heard that before.
My 5-year art degree taught me the hamburger and the hot dog.
Great. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Jamie on any of the stuff that she showed us tonight?
Jamie, do you have, you said you had a website?
I do. It's down at the moment because I'm in the process of re-upping on all of my stuff, but it's littlebitchclub.com.
Okay,
So,
I'll write that down.
I'll write it in the chat as well. So I made the name of that when I was working that job that I said was not going very well. But it should be back up soon, and I sell all my rugs and embroidery and illustrations and all that stuff through there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This has been
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
It was fun. It really was. I have to go now, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. And again, thank you to Jamie for doing this demo. It was really cool. I like this. Yeah, one last chance. Anybody else? Comments, questions?
Great job, Jeannie. Very good.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. You guys were very welcoming.
All right. Well, then I'm going to shut it down.
Perfect.
Well, actually, I gave Matt the host job, so Matt's going to shut
in
it down.
charge.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Have a good
Have a good
night.
night.